All right. All right, JP Gar, PERA, Building Design Specifications, JP Gar, PERA, fellow ASCE, fellow AEI. Alright, course content. The course will introduce you to the most important the resource available to the engineer, architect, engaged with the design, building, related infrastructure, the representative of the collective knowledge of the thousands of engineer, architect over the past century, provide you with the design guidance based on building, space type design, discipline, objective of the product systems will provide you with the project resource, the focus on the product delivery team, project planning, development, build, and commission pre-delivery controls. We will have the single easy access source, operation, maintenance, guidance, exceptional use of reference material, the tools, hands-on information, ease of the access. Use they have and proven over and over. Thousands of the projects form a small routine and enormously unique. You'll learn how to quickly access and navigate with the resource, but we'll put it to work for you on the next project, and it's free. Now, the knowledge we will use the profession. There are two types of knowledge we design and managing with the construction, buildings, related infrastructure, the theoretical and experiential. Theoretical knowledge is viewed for the learning, engineering school, the essential laws of applied with the physics Bernoulli equation with the logistics, statistics, dynamics, conversion, and momentum. Force equals mass times area of the second law of the thermodynamics, etc. Experiential knowledge with to have learned with the being informed about the other through on the job with 100 SF space allowances per occupant of the office space. 1/4 inch slope of the drainage pipe, 10 air change with per hour for the restroom ventilation, etc. This course is about accelerating the experiential knowledge. You will learn with millions of hours of experience with many of the thousand engineers and architects over the past 100 years. You learn with the accessibility, the easy use of the reference resource that brings for the information together that provides you with proven design construction guidelines, standing with the tools you immediately in your day-to-day project design. The type of the source was not available 10 years ago. It provides with a new dimension to our enterprise of designing, managing, construction, building, and related infrastructure. This course will introduce you with a resource that will immediately put you at a disposal of collective experiential knowledge of the thousands of engineers, architects who gained thousands of large and small building infrastructure projects over the past 100 years. 3. But first, some historical perspective. Less than 50 years ago, there were tools available to the engineers to apply with theoretical knowledge, a slide ruler, a merchant calculator, when rudimentary tools of the Hoover Dam, Sears Tower, the most of the interstate highway systems were designed. Type of the courses all man with the computing, calculating, graphic tools are available. 50 years ago, the access to the utilize of the experimental knowledge only media was available. The hard-covered books with manual monograph, the reports that were not easily constant and often difficult to obtain. For example, when signing California State Water Project for the 1960 database with experimental knowledge and hard-covered manuals and documents published in the Tennessee Valley Authority Corps Engineering Bureau of the Reclamation of these states with the engineering with the art before the invention of the computer of the internet and information you could get was in a hard copy format. Last half of the 20th century, the federal agents, particularly with the Department of Defense, began to pull together the document experimental knowledge engineers has gained over the past 50 years of the design, construction, thousand building infrastructure. The initial efforts were the parochial that were not a lot of sharing among the agencies, even with the Department of Defense. The result of a lot of the hard copy documentation, experimental knowledge was scattered, absorbed, and difficult to access with the computer of the internet. Have the course completely changed, not only with the technology, theoretical knowledge, calculators, and computers, but experimental knowledge, database, internet, and Googling, etc. To do this, credit the federal government, particularly the Department of Defense, have taken the initiative to correlate with the scattered experiential data knowledge of the base of the development and internet-based platform that allow the building, design, construction community at large to access benefit from it if it's done by the utilizing coordinated efforts of the National Institute Building Standards. National Institute Building Standards have undertaken with the pull of the federal experimental knowledge base together into a single comprehensive, easily accessible internet-based resource called the Whole Building Design Guide. This course will tell you what the whole building design guide is, instruction, and walk through some of the examples of how to access the information you need, and we'll tell you about the module of the in particular valuable other than in the current state and the development are so less. For whole building design, or WBDH, the whole building design guide. The whole building design guide is www.wbdg.org. National Institute Building Services is an internet portal access to the success of the internet based for the experimental knowledge of the engineer, the architects, construction professionals, garnered over more than 100 years, 10,000 years. The project reflected primarily with the most experienced building infrastructure for the design construction institution in the world, the U.S. federal government. Compensation, design, construction guide with the details, specification, computer pay. Tools, CAD detail with the up-to-date, ready for the use of the project today. Continuously updated, revised, and design and construction professional reflect change of the building infrastructure, design, construction method, and materials. For learning about what we can do for you in your day-to-day engineering activities, some of the comments are in order. First, do not make a mistake. Assume that experiential knowledge is based on the federal, therefore not useful in the real world. That in no case of the engineering knowledge based on the applicable cross spectrum building infrastructure project for the company with the agency with the encounters. 2, second, do not assume that because of the federal generated knowledge base excessively complex and bureaucratic. That is not the case. Building design construction complex undertaking the knowledge base of the enterprise most inherently reflect the complexity. The whole building design guide is not excessively complex, although you will see named the federal agency extensively throughout the base, and you may need some simple look past the substantial data provided. Third, it's an important factor to appreciate the ratio of the applicable for the whole building design is that there is a living base of experiential knowledge in the continually updated and refined by engineers working daily on real projects. It's the only knowledge base of the real-time, real-world aspect of the information reached over the professional community with the many payroll for some of the components of the whole building design, but with the usually produced with the volunteer community with the update with the episodically. This is not to appreciate the importance of the personal professional practice, but they lack the timeline to provide utility of the federal experiential knowledge accessible throughout the whole building design portal. The manner in which the whole building design is generated with the reduce the possibility of inappropriate influence is exerted by the vendor for the development of design construction guidance. Fourth, do not think that the whole building design is being a cookbook and approach for the building design. It is not, but the whole building design guide provides access for the guidance that is always elevated with the temperament of the professional judgment and maybe it's less useful for the experiment and experienced engineer, but it needs to be recognized that many of the engineers lesser level of qualification experience are employed by the company agency that will find with the guidance of the whole building design provides helpful. Further, the whole building design can be useful when using the design build. This is because the company with the publication of the design code with the design construction criteria with the contract with the design building contractor. It will have little control over the quality of the work, knowledge, resource available. The whole building design guide provides a universe of the design criteria that was incorporated by reference into the contract between the company and public agency with the design build contractor. This will be very helpful to an owner of the control quality and cost of the project being constructed using the design build. And finally, there are components of the module for the whole building design that are particularly useful other than of the current state of the development and less to help focus quickly on the best for the research of the topic, particularly with importance. Utility will be designated with a star. The exceptional use for features is double star. Whole Building Design Guide with the portal. With a click on the WWBG or wholebuildingdesign.org. Go to opening page with the whole Building Design Guide. And moving through this course, you will be prompted to use a browser to the internet page with the prompts. You will look at the www.bdg.org. You will come in to one of those get indicated with the page of the browser. Continue with this course. Opening of the page rather busy leads the confusion, minimize the focus at least initially just on the tab of the pull-down menus. Remember to indicate the consumption of the use of information located. Design guidance, project management, operation, maintenance, the documents and reference and tool. The following two tabs are very useful. We'll discuss further. Continuation and BIM. Design guidance. If you click on the design guidance, wbdg.design/index.php. Link you will see following tabs and pull down. Building type of the information words, type of the building use, space type of the information, organized function side of the building. Design principles, information, design, professional discipline, design objective, information organized by design goal, products and system, information organized by design goal, information, building type, and space types, elements, boundary, leave the most useful for the design guide, information for the unified facility criteria, where buried deep in the documents for the reference module will be explored in detail later. But here's the quick look of the building design type, space type, the design objective, the elements of the design, disciplines, product, the systems elements will not be discussed because of the current state of the development are not particularly useful, and inside of the product and system element contains links very useful unified facility guideline specs or UFGSs, veteran administrative master specifications, however they are also accessible the construction criteria base and the document the reference module will be discussed later. Building type www.wbdg.org, design/building types PDHP, looking drill down categories, for example, library, public space need for the special use of areas. Table show the typical square footage of the special use of the areas. One of the information you may find the use of the building type of the only guidelines, not requirements, but they can be helpful in specifying space planning with a new construction or renovation existing space. The information that is usually available for the other building types covered in this element, occasional concept, system aids used in the help text information for various pages on the building types module that is a little too superficial to be a lot of help to you. Here's another example of drill down off the building conference of the rooms, an example of the program. Avoid your some square footage information concept sketch with the provide with the starting point with the square planning, but the rest of the information is a little thin. Explore building type of the other modules your own. Become the peculiar before familiar information with the contain as well with the link to the information resource with the find with the nugget of knowledge with exactly what you need. Keep it in mind with the whole building design guide portal is currently being updated. Expansions of the module which may have characterized it today is not useful. It may become the much more helpful in the future. Space type. Click on space type wbdgd.org/design/space type link to explore the element. Click with the example the core house courtroom element to see the narrative information example the couple of the concept sketch of the sum of the links source of the information. Really typical space type of the module with the narrative, the information fairly shallow, link of the other source of the information, frankly, organization publish the use of the information commercially, but not actually information that does not always come. Case since links are sometimes with the government side of the information directly available only with it at no cost, the concept sketches may use some of the value of the primary information that is useful. Square footage number that can help in the space planning with another example, like you can look at the parking surface and area for information sketches and shallow, but there are some link of other research that will be helpful. Design objective, the design objective, the information particularly useful with the one exemption that they click on the objective design objective www.org design objective. Link the information organized like this: accessible, aesthetics, cost-effective, functional, operation, productive, secure, safe, sustainability. One helpful element is sustainability. Nice presentation elements constitute sustainable design. Helpful to cover the sustainable concept rather than nebulous. Usually depends on what are you taking data over the week, the time of the day. Sustainable with www.design sustainable PHP. And to look at it, you can almost view the checklist you need to evaluate one of your projects. Also has some excellent links to more definite information you can use on your projects. 7. Project manual. The project manual module fairly shallow, not likely to be terrible. Useful link of the project management at www.org project/PM PHP. You are seeing the information organized project delivery teams, project planning, development, building, commission, project delivery, and controls. But also with all the modules, element with the whole building design guide, with the export, with the they may find themselves useful. Perhaps some may become more useful in the future as they expand and develop. 8. Operation and maintenance. Operation maintenance element of fairly shallow, but not likely to be very useful. Click on the operation manual at www.org/OMM, and you may see the information organized like this: real property computerized maintenance management program system. Information provided limited value with the design construction, but maybe the interest of the operation maintenance personnel as well. Visit all of the modules element, the whole building design guide, explore with the because you will find something useful. Perhaps some become more useful in the future as they expand and developed. 9. Document the reference, the very useful information located. Click on the document reference wbd.org/reference/docrefs. PHP information for the module with the link like this: federal mandates, construction criteria basis, periodical case study of the participating industry organization. Federal mandates, periodical case study of the participating age of the industrial organization elements limited to unit with the maybe to provide the helpful links for the web source for the variable valuable resource for the here with the construction criteria basis. Click on construction criteria basis wbgd.org CCB, and look at the component content of the component higher side of the CCB is organized for standard library regulations, library standard library, document library, CAD library, engineering, energy library, environmental library, sustainable design library, tool library. Tool libraries represented with the WBGD website, separate tab that will be discussed in the framework. Specification library with the document library, very valuable with the CAD library, with the tool library, useful with the tools with the critical criteria base element. However, the merely refers to the main tool module with the whole building design guide, open page, so we'll discuss it later for the location. Look first. Specification library, www.org/CCB, browse library, PHP. Here's how it's structured: unified facility guidelines, specs, Navy SCAT. Standard specification, Navy FAC guide, performance work statement, the VA master specification, DOE, general design guide, national international boards, institute boards specifications, 2 element specification libraries, very useful unified guideline specs, and veterans administrative master specs. 7 of the unified guideline specs in detail with the veterans administrative master specification structural. Some of the unified guideline specs so will not discuss separately with the veteran administration master specification in mind with the design of healthcare facilities project and an excellent guide specification resource. Alright, specification library, unified facility guideline specs, specification, unified facility guideline specs, most useful source of the guideline specs available. The engineers, architects, and gave the design, management, the construction of the building, related to infrastructure, the component of the technology, rigorous, also up to date with the current reflect of the collective experimental knowledge. Many thousand engineer architects are acquired in hundreds of thousands of projects, some monetizably undertake the one or more of the centuries, all the developed the man of the federal government agency that are not in substantive way with a particular federal government they are not. expensive, excessively complex. They are not excessively bureaucratic. They ideally use this other off standards, private company, public agencies, large, small, but they organize, recognized by the 43 section of the Construction Specification Institution format. To begin with, familiar with them is Unified Facility Guideline Specs. At the beginning, you will see a list of Unified Facility Guideline Specs section available to you to download without charge. Here's a small portion of what you'll see. Example of the specifications are of the concrete, and then they show the concrete rehabilitation, restore concrete, historic structure, concrete rehabilitation, civil work, structural concrete frame form work of the concrete, expansion, contraction joints, warp and water stop with expansion, contraction, construction joints, the concrete, civil work, concrete reinforcement, steel bars, welded wire, fabric, concrete reinforcement, civil works. These sections made a download the PDF of the zip file. If the download of the PDF of the file can be converted with the doc file, you can assemble the PDF of the word converters that are available. This, however, does not recommend because it introduces some of the necessary complexity. The recommended section is download the zip file, download the zip files and or specs and TAC editor, word processing software. Recommended specs and TAC editor be used for processing unified guideline specification sections. If this is because of the specs and TAC editor has a number of the helpful features that would be usable, the section converted with a Word document. Also, specs and TAC editor word processing software has same easy use of the word with addition of some special features. We'll discuss specs and TAC system and the specs and TAC editor more detail later. At the time, download the sections, become familiar with the manipulating, processing them. After you've gained some of the initial formality with the section, their contents, how to take note of the following points. Applicable precautions. A few examples of sections organized for general products execution. Examining of the various sections will observe feature could be with the construction expense excessively bureaucratic, cumbersome, with the provision of the general segment of the section with a competent applicable publication. Example, just applicable publications, the American Siding Testing Material Internationals, and then Unified Guideline Specification of the applicable publication segment referred to the product execution segment of the section abbreviated manner ASTM A307 and ASM TM 593, etc. Why the applicable publication segment of the region of the federal government is quintessential, the deep talk with the lawyers that found a way to get into the pocket of the federal taxpayer specification law and the epithetical judge at appellate level to have rule with the specification edit revision of the applicable publication must be re-cited with the extremists. If it was enforceable, for the example, the most non-sufficient, the requirement of the compliance with the ASTM F593, it was necessary to require the compliance with the ASTM F93 2002 R 2008 stainless steel bolts, hex, gap, screw studs. However, the compliance with the ASTM F593 might be recited with several locations within the section to reduce complexity of the specification. The best approach was to provide applicable publication sec with a reference, therefore, to reductive of the form of the ASTM 593. Complex approach of the dealing with the applicable publication, but it can be either observed with the entirety federal agency, or the observed with the less complex with the private company, public agencies, large, small, detailed exposition, applicable publication likely to become the bone with the contention of the few owner-contractor disputes, risk of the court with the increase of the owner with the view with the have the deep pocket with when the lawyers perceive the possibility of the ripping off of the packs of the public taxpayer with the honest hard work with the private companies. If your company agency decide they have simplified approach to the applicable publication section, simplified or even eliminated in different ways. Design notes are most valuable for each of the SVGS. The design notes appear through the sections guide with the designer when and how to incorporate specific clauses, specification for the specific project. However, this is what they look like with the text appearing with the two horizontal lines asterisks. Show the example of design notes, small joints and cracks, and then show the notes. When the specification section is ready to print, the specs and TAC editor provides a simple one-click function to remove the design notes from view, but they are neither seen on screen nor printed in inspection testing material. Some of the design notes and inspection testing notes are provided with appropriate place with the section guide of the engineer inspector. Verify contractor's work. They have same format appearing for the design notes. Here is an example. The specification testing notes show the field quality control sampling testing with notes and inspection with notes. General check with the government. Even the many of them about. You check the government out of my inspection. The unified guideline inspector developed with the federal agency. The couple of word of the art appear with the government and with the contracting office quickly change whatsoever the office of the standby. So if the owner and engineer was simply found to replace with the specs and TAC editor with or word specs and TAC editor to notify the unified guideline specification downloaded as a zip file from the specification library with construction criteria base. Our specs and TAC editor word processing software will whole building design guide positions information for the important tool of the specification Aids element with a tool module will be discussed in the future location. Document library. U5 facility criteria with many resources of the document library, but known most useful the unified facility criteria. Awkwardly, it will be buried in the whole building design guide requiring drill down like this. Document reference construction criteria based document library DoD criteria unified facility criteria. You go directly into the link unified facility criteria www.bg or CCB browse catalog PHP. 020. We arrive at the list of tech manuals, other resources that you can download without use of clause. However, just small of the part list of the all manual with the download with the PDF files. UFC manuals, a series 3/400 mechanical section, and this is available to building design where you can knowledge research the following a few of the expert with taking some of the manual with the illustrative the depth and technical rigor hands-on utility of these publications. And show the example of the UFC manual. This is the foundation of the expansive soil with the introduction, the recognition, problem areas, field of exploration, laboratory investigation, methodology, prediction, the volume, chain of the design foundation, minimization foundation, and movement, construction techniques, inspection, remedial procedures, and then also comes with the appendix of the project's UFC manual content, and show the field reconnaissance page. Sample the UFC manual content boiler control system. Give the table of contents to that. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. You have manual content, and then it continues. And then boiler control panel indicators in the UFC manual. Indicator recorder. The CADD library containing the selection of the CADD details. They are downloadable without cost, compatible with the widely used CAD software. For example, one very useful collection of the Navy Facts CAD detail, WDG.org, CBCB, Browse Cat, and PHP. There are some of the detail that you will find, for example, the Navy Fact CAD details, and then they give the list of the documents available in following format. And they're all on zip, and these read the page with the direct link with the need with the drill down, document the reference for the construction criteria based on the CAD library, Navy Fact CAD details, 12 tools, the valuable resources of the tools available to download with the tools module without charge. Click on the link tools, www.bdg.org tools. You'll see the tools resource organized categories with the code, compliance, cost estimation, design analysis, engineering analysis, energy analysis, life cycle cost and assessment, life cycle management, maintenance, professional construction, service program, project management, specification aids. One of these tools, particularly used for the specs and tax system, because of the integral use of the unified guideline specs. Specs and tax is the key to understanding specs and tax system using efficiency with the specs and tax quick start guide. You can access the drilling down like this. Tool specification aid, specs and tax quick start guide. To reach it directly, click the specs and tax quick start guide at nasa.gov PDF OQS guide that takes you to the specs and tax learning guide series quick start, which is download PDF manual with the key utilization of the unified guidelines, criteria, specification library. Here its contents you'll see about this guide, and then it has 12. How to use the resource available. The whole building design guides can be used for the personal reference or for the individual engineers, architect. The most important of the unified facility guideline specs, unified facility criteria, can be adapted to the office standing with the private company, state with the local public agency, with the company's agency. They should be considered integrating with the two reach for the other office of the process. Starting point integration unified facility guideline training became with the spec tag quick start guide. Good luck. And then it has my final exam, and that is the that was, once again, your implementing design, building, and public sector tools and specifications.